You open your banking app, and for a split second, just a fraction of a second, you hesitate before looking at the balance because somewhere in the back of your mind, you're not sure you want to know. Maybe you had a rough week. Maybe you bought something you weren't supposed to. Maybe you just spent money on living, and now you're quietly hoping the numbers haven't turned red. That moment of dread, that tiny pause before the screen loads, that's not a you problem. That's not laziness or poor character or bad luck. That's what it feels like to be financially trapped. And if you've ever felt that way, I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes because there's a specific number, one single financial milestone that completely eliminates that feeling. And almost nobody's talking about it. Welcome to Smart Invests, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and how people build wealth. If you're someone who feels like they're constantly one unexpected bill away from a crisis, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today we're going to talk about the number that actually changes your life. Not $1 million, not six figures, something far more reachable and far more powerful than most people give it credit for. Here's what the financial world wants you to believe. You need to be rich before money starts working for you. You need massive savings, huge investments, or some inheritance before anything meaningful happens. And until then, you're just grinding. That belief keeps millions of people stuck, because when the goal feels impossible, most people never start. But here's what actually happens in real life. There's a much smaller threshold, an almost invisible line where your relationship with money completely transforms, not just mathematically, psychologically, behaviorally, at the level of how you make decisions, how you talk to your boss, how you sleep at night. And that line sits at $20,000. $20,000, not 20 million, not 200,000, 20,000. I know what you're thinking. That doesn't sound revolutionary, but let me show you exactly why crossing that number rewires everything, including your brain. Most people treat $20,000 like a nice round savings goal, a comfortable emergency fund, something to aim for eventually. What they don't realize is that it's actually a threshold, a doorway. Once you walk through it, you're playing an entirely different game with entirely different rules. And here's the part that will mess with your head a little. Most people who never cross this line have no idea the other game even exists. Picture yourself trying to push a massive boulder up a steep hill. At the bottom, it's brutal. Every inch requires everything you have. You're straining, sweating, questioning whether it's even possible. The boulder barely moves. Some days it rolls back, and you start wondering if maybe you're just not the type of person built for this. But you keep going. Slowly, painfully, you inch it upward. Until one day, without any dramatic announcement, the boulder reaches the crest of the hill. And then something almost magical happens. It starts moving on its own. Not because you suddenly became stronger, not because the rules changed, but because momentum is now working with you instead of against you. That's $20,000. That's the crest of the hill. Everything before it, you're fighting gravity. Every dollar you save feels like pulling weight uphill. Progress is slow, and the effort feels disproportionate to the result. But cross that line, now your money starts carrying some of its own weight. And the further down that hill the boulder rolls, the faster it goes. Here's what most people don't realize about financial stress. It's not just uncomfortable, it's cognitively crippling. When you don't have a financial cushion, your brain operates in what psychologists call survival mode. Every single money decision gets filtered through fear. The fear of falling behind, the fear of the unexpected, the fear of not being enough. And when your brain is running on fear, it literally cannot think about growth. It can only think about survival. You take the first job offer that comes along, not the best one, the first one, because you can't afford to wait. You stay in situations that make you miserable because leaving feels too risky. You say yes to things you hate because you need the income. This isn't weakness, this is neuroscience. A brain consumed by scarcity cannot strategize, they can only react. This is where it gets really interesting though. Research shows that having even a small financial buffer, as little as $2,000 in emergency savings, increases measurable financial well-being by around 21%. Just $2,000 shifts something psychologically. It takes you one step out of pure survival mode. Now, scale that to a full 3 to 6 month emergency fund, which for most people lands around $20,000. Suddenly, you get another significant boost in financial confidence. But more importantly, your brain finally has enough breathing room to stop asking, how do I survive the next 2 weeks? And start asking, how do I actually build something? That shift from reactive to proactive is worth more than the money itself. Let's run some real numbers, because this is where it gets genuinely exciting. Assume you're saving and investing $1,000 every month with an average annual return of 8%. Getting to your first $20,000 takes roughly 19 months. That's about a year and a half of real discipline. Now here's where your brain should light up. Your second $20,000 doesn't take another 19 months. It takes closer to 17. Why? Because your first $20,000 is now working alongside your contributions, generating its own returns. You didn't change anything. Same job, same savings rate, same investments. But the math is already doing some of the heavy lifting for you. By the time you're chasing your third and fourth $20,000 milestone, the timeline keeps shrinking. And here's the number that'll either motivate you or break your brain. Once your portfolio reaches around $400,000, your investments alone can generate a new $20,000 in roughly 5 months, without a single extra dollar of effort from you. The same amount that took you nearly 2 years to build initially is now appearing almost automatically. That's not a trick. That's compound interest behaving exactly the way math says it should. The only thing standing between you and that version of your life is building the foundation first. But here's something that often gets overlooked in these conversations. Saving $20,000 from scratch doesn't just build a bank balance, it builds a version of you. Think about what it actually takes to get there, if you're starting from zero. You have to track your spending, you have to say no repeatedly to things you want right now. You have to resist the impulse to blow your savings every time life gets stressful or boring. And you have to do all of that for months, sometimes years, without an immediate payoff. What you're really doing is proving something to yourself. You're proving that you can control money instead of letting money control you. That you can prioritize your future self over your present comfort. That you are, in fact, the kind of person who builds wealth. That identity shift might sound soft, but it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. And once it's locked in, every financial decision you make going forward is filtered through that new self-image. You stop asking, can I technically afford this? And start asking, does this actually align with where I'm going? That question changes everything. Before $20,000, every unexpected expense is a crisis. Car breaks down, laptop dies, medical bill shows up. Each one of those events doesn't just cost money, it derails your whole month, your whole momentum, sometimes your whole mindset. After $20,000, those same events become inconveniences. Annoying, sure, but not catastrophic. And then something else happens. You start noticing opportunities you used to scroll past. A friend mentions they're starting a small business and looking for a co-investor. Before, you'd say, that's cool, and move on. Now you can actually run the numbers. A professional development course shows up that could fast-track your career, but your company won't fund it. Before, you'd talk yourself out of it. Now you weigh the real return on that investment. Your salary hasn't changed. The opportunities were always there. What changed is that you now have the resources and the mental space to actually act on them. This is what people mean when they say money makes money. It's not some mysterious force that favors the already wealthy. It's that options create more options. And having $20,000 in savings gives you options that people living paycheck to paycheck simply don't have access to. So let's make this real. Here's exactly what to do starting today. First, automate a fixed transfer to savings the same day your paycheck hits, even $100. Especially if it feels too small. Small and consistent beats large and random every time. Second, calculate what 3 months of actual expenses looks like for you. Not the ideal budget, your real life. That's your first target number. Third, cut one recurring expense you genuinely don't use or value. Not your coffee, something real, a subscription, an upgrade you don't need, a habit that doesn't serve you. Redirect it automatically. Fourth, open a separate savings account specifically for this goal. Label it something that means something to you. Out of sight, out of mind is a feature here, not a bug. Fifth, track your progress monthly. Not obsessively, but intentionally. Watching that number grow does something to your brain that no motivational video ever could. Look, $20,000 won't make you rich overnight. Anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. But it will change how you think, how you negotiate, how you sleep, and how you see the world around you. It will turn you from someone who reacts to money into someone who directs it. The version of you that has that foundation, that person makes different decisions, takes different risks, and ends up in a completely different place 10 years from now. Your future self is being built right now, not by luck, not by income alone, by the decision you make this week to start moving in the right direction. If this video helps shift your perspective even slightly, hit that subscribe button. We put out new content on financial psychology and wealth building every week. And drop a comment below. Tell me where you currently are on this journey. I read every single one. See you in the next one.